You must have cunningly stolen someone else's credit. I don't trust a dull man like you. You are stepping down from this project as well. Having someone like you represent our company is an embarrassment."
The president's daughter's words were utterly unreasonable, one-sided, and dripping with contempt and discrimination. Suddenly, something inside me exploded.
Embarrassment, I see. Well then, I'll step down as the project manager, and while I'm at it, I'll resign from this company too.
To my breaking point, the two villains just smirked with pleasure.
Don't leave any trace of a dull man like you in our company. You'd be a stain on our reputation. Clean up everything and get out quickly.
With these cruel, final words, she pushed me away. At that moment, I decided, what would really happen if I erased all traces of myself? I resolved then to make these corrupt villains realize the true impact. I'm Chris. This year, I turned 30, just another regular guy working a white-collar job. Today, I'd like to share how even a plain guy like me can change dramatically, just by adjusting his mindset. Born in the suburbs of New York, I wasn't particularly bright as a child and didn't have any special talents. From elementary school, I was what you'd call one of the crowd. I was the kind of kid who blended into the background in a class full of average students. My grades were always below average, and I wasn't athletic, making sports days a real pain. When I moved up to middle school, I joined the basketball team as a typical average kid because it was the most popular club. Since our school team was not strong, we often got thrashed in games, and I have no fond memories of any tournaments. By the 9th grade, my academic performance hadn't improved, and my grades continued to struggle. So, I ended up failing to get into my first-choice public high school. Reluctantly, I attended a private high school with lower standards. Since we weren't exactly wealthy, my mom often reminded me bitterly, "I'm paying a lot for you to attend this private school." I was quite traumatized by this experience of failing to get into my first-choice high school. After that, I grew up to be a cold and resigned teenager who was possessed by nihilism attitude and thinking that even if I tried my best, it would be useless anyway. In high school, I didn't study seriously. I just played games and hung out aimlessly with friends, wasting my high school years. As my high school days passed, the time to decide my future came. I gave up on the idea of going to college right from the start. Thinking I'd probably fail even at a low-ranked university, I decided to get a job right after high school. I applied to various companies, including civil service positions, but didn't do well. Somehow, I managed to land a job at a fairly large company called Ace Trading. At this company, except for the warehouse, logistics, and fieldwork, almost all of the desk-bound employees were college-educated. The few high school graduates there were much older, middle-aged men and women. I was assigned to the department in charge of managing the company's internal systems. And my direct boss there was Sam, the department head, who was practically royalty in the office. Sam was an elite with a degree from a prestigious university, from a wealthy family, and he was a tall, handsome man. However, Sam's character was terrible. Ever since I was new, Sam constantly criticized me harshly for my low educational background.
Can't you even handle something this simple? Typical uneducated quality, and you're not even a real asset to our team, you useless wreck.
These were the kinds of insults I faced daily from Sam. I hated Sam's torment and abuse, but I convinced myself, well, I'm lowly educated. Maybe it's true that I'm useless. My self-esteem was low compared to everyone else, especially since my failure to get into the high school. So even when Sam berated me, all I could do was weakly apologize. This pathetic attitude only irritated Sam more, and his insults towards me escalated. While these depressing days dragged on, I reached my 5th year at the company. At this point, Sam's harassment became extraordinarily intense. In retrospect, I think he was seriously trying to exhaust me both mentally and physically, aiming to drive me out of a company. As soon as the fifth fiscal year began, Sam called me in and suddenly dumped an enormous amount of work on me. It was easily 5 times the volume of work I had managed before. Moreover, it included tasks in areas where I lacked skills.
You've been freeloading here for 5 years now. No more mercy. Get this work done by the deadline or you'll find yourself out of a job.
Sam was setting a malicious trap, dripping with sarcasm, aiming to get rid of me. Unable to argue back, all I could muster was a bewildered "I'll try my best." At this time, for the first time in my life, I was struck by a fierce sense of urgency from the bottom of my heart that I had to do something. Fueled by a rage similar to anger towards my past inefficacies, I strongly wanted to prove Sam wrong, who always looked down on me. I spent sleepless nights pondering strategies, exhaustively searching online for any possible way to handle it successfully. Eventually, I concluded, this project can be largely solved by using a certain programming that I have absolutely no skills in, and can also save a lot of time. Although the programming was challenging, mastering it could greatly benefit my work and help me become a valued employee. I got these conclusions. Exactly as saying goes, every crisis is an opportunity. Until now, I had never immersed myself deeply to master anything, but at this moment, I resolved to dedicate my life to this challenge. I was done with being looked down upon, ridiculed, and insulted. Frustration can sometimes be a powerful catalyst for action. After work, I attended intensive programming courses and continued to study vigorously at home, sparing no time for sleep. Initially, my motivation was purely to ease my workload, but as I learned more, I gradually discovered the joy of programming and became engrossed in it. As a result, I was able to manage the increased workload with ease. And the quality of my work was highly praised by many. For the first time in 5 years as an inept and educated employee, I was recognized and valued by others in the company. My enthusiasm for learning programming grew, and my skills improved significantly. Consequently, my standing in the company rose rapidly. To my own disbelief, I became a rising star, attracting attention not just from other departments but also from outside the company. My programming skills and the high quality of my work even led to a lucrative headhunting offer from a multinational competitor. Being recognized and appreciated gradually restored my low self-esteem. The cycle of negativity that had plagued my work life turned around in a fascinating way. I became more proactive at work, and as a result, my communication with colleagues improved. Employees who once clearly despised me now looked at me with respect. My efforts caught the attention of the upper management, and I was entrusted with leading major, high-profile projects within the company. It was as if a bolt from the blue had changed my life in ways I had never even dared to dream of. As I rapidly made a name for myself, various people within the company began to speak highly of me.
How could someone as capable as Chris have been underperforming all this time? It's strange.
It seems Chris was only passive because of the harassment from his immediate boss, Sam. Was Sam jealous of Chris's talents and trying to crush him? Many employees began to whisper that Sam had been oppressing me, which had prevented me from excelling until now. These rumors eventually reached Sam's ears. Knowing about my success and the high regard I was held in did not sit well with him at all. "Just you watch, you uneducated useless fool, don't get cocky." Sam, who despised me, seemed to have thought of a dreadful plan at this time. The system I developed significantly streamlined operations across most departments, earning me widespread acclaim. Pleased to be recognized and make everyone happy, I pushed myself too hard and ended up falling ill. I had to take a few days off from work. After a few days of rest, my health improved. Fully recovered, I returned to work and attended a meeting for a massive project involving several other companies. Unexpectedly, a notable figure appeared at the inspection. It was Rachel Turner, the daughter of the family that owned Ace Trading. Our company, Ace Trading, was large enough to be classified as a major corporation, but had never gone public, maintaining a family-owned structure with a tradition of succession. Therefore, the president, Mr. Turner, was Rachel's father, and the chairman was her grandfather. Rachel herself, currently the executive vice president, was promised to be the next president. After the meeting, Rachel walked brusquely over to me and said,
"So you're Chris. I'd appreciate it if you didn't overstep your bounds as if you represent us. Anyway, come to the president's office afterward."
I was summoned coldly and abruptly. It was definitely not a good call. It seemed that Rachel, the president's daughter, had taken a dislike to me for some reason. When I showed up at the president's office as instructed, Mr. Turner wasn't there, but Rachel was sitting at his desk, waiting. Shockingly, someone was standing beside the president's chair with a smug grin. It was none other than my manager, Sam. Without caring about my momentary surprise, Rachel launched into a tirade. "I've heard quite a lot about you from Sam here, Chris. I hear you were skiving off until yesterday. Seems like you've really been dragging the company down." I couldn't understand why Rachel was targeting me, but at that moment, I realized everything. Sam must have been feeding her all the negatives and past failures about me. I glared at Sam involuntarily, but he only returned a mocking smile. Rachel, clearly irritated by my silence, pressed on.
"Chris, it seems that you are a high school graduate with a really low level of education. I don't know how a bottom feeder who didn't even go to college could become an employee of our company. We can't entrust this important project to you with a low level of education."
Astonished by her rude remarks, I was at a loss for words. "Excuse me, but I was appointed as the project manager based solely on my track record in programming." I replied calmly, but this only made Rachel more furious, and she raised her eyebrows in anger. "Your assessment must be fraudulent. You must have cunningly stolen someone else's credit. I don't trust a dull man like you. You're stepping down from this project. Having someone like you represent us is an embarrassment." Faced with a level of disdain and scorn I hadn't experienced in a while, something inside me exploded.
"Embarrassment? Okay, I understand. Then I'll step down as the project manager, and while I'm at it, I'll resign from this company as well."
I had finally reached my breaking point. I had intended to prove myself in this company, but I couldn't muster the enthusiasm to continue under such a future president.
"That's perfect. We don't need someone like you here, isn't it right, Sam?"
Indeed. I threw them one last look of contempt and was about to leave the president's office when Rachel's voice hit me like a final blow.
"Make sure you leave no trace of yourself here. You'd be a stain on our company. Clean everything up and get out quickly."
Without responding, I left the president's office. When I reached my desk, I turned on my computer and did my last piece of work. I deleted all the files I had created, and disabling the internal system for which I held the patent. After packing up my personal belongings and emptying my desk, I left the company for good. After resigning from Ace Trading, I joined a multinational competitor that had been scouting me. The treatment at my new job was excellent. My salary was 10 times what it had been, plus significant performance bonuses. More than the financial rewards, I was thrilled by the freedom to work as I pleased. There were no malicious, toxic bosses like Sam. My proposals were quickly discussed in meetings, and if well received, immediately greenlit as new projects. Since the switch, I have truly enjoyed my programming work like never before. Leaving Ace Trading was truly the best decision. Ironically, I find myself grateful to Rachel and Sam. What happened to Ace Trading after I left? Following Rachel's parting words, the system I deleted became inoperable, and the company plunged into chaos. I had anticipated this, so I warned Rachel and Sam when I left.
"It's fine if you drive me out, but if you erase my traces, no one will be able to use the system I developed."
Still, Rachel and Sam scoffed and laughed it off.
No, it's actually convenient. Let's scrap that pathetic system you developed. I've always hated it. We'll just create a better one.
Even after I warned them out of kindness, they responded with such ingratitude that I said, "Oh, really? Then please do as you please. But don't come prying to me later because I won't know anything about it." And I left the company with that ultimatum. However, afterwards, each workplace within the company fell into complete panic. It was only natural, as the core internal system suddenly stopped working, and it was replaced by a less convenient and inferior system every step of the way. Employee dissatisfaction and stress peaked, and they flooded Rachel and Sam with complaints.
It's because you drove Chris out that this has happened. It's not working at all. Do something, bring Chris back.
Or apologize to him and let us use his system. The employees were furious, nearly attacking Rachel and Sam, but they remained defiant.
How can we do such a humiliating thing? Figure it out yourselves. That's your job. Chris is not needed here, so there's no way we'll bring him back. Just adapt and use a new system.
Faced with such insincere and irresponsible answers, the employees snapped. Unable to endure a workplace that only demanded self-help from its staff, employees began to resign one after another, creating an extraordinary situation. Once that cycle started, it didn't stop. Initially, the company tried to compensate for the staff shortage by hiring temp agencies, but that quickly reached its limits, and operations began to falter. Across the company's departments, the quality of work significantly dropped, and gaps in transactions and other credibility issues arose. As a result, Ace Trading's social credit dropped to the extreme, and its longtime business partners cut contracts one after another. Furthermore, the financial statements continued to show significant operational deficits, leading to insolvency, and eventually, Ace Trading went bankrupt. After the bankruptcy, under corporate restructuring laws, the multinational company I joined acquired Ace Trading, and the earnest employees were retained. However, Rachel and the former management family were ousted. Sam, her sycophant, was completely dismissed as well. Interestingly, it was only then that Sam came to seek my help. Dismissed and cornered, he desperately turned to me, his supposed enemy, begging for help.
I took care of you so much in the past. Please, can you help me fix things?
I was utterly astounded by Sam's audacity.
You took care of me? You mean you harassed and looked down on me? If I am to appeal anything to the higher-ups,
it would be to advise them not to hire someone deceitful and mean-spirited like you. In response to my words, Sam was furious and pretended to throw his phone, but he stopped halfway and left dejectedly. I heard through the grapevine that for a while, Sam's wife worked in the nightlife industry to maintain their lifestyle, but that didn't last long. Eventually, they had to sell their luxury condo near central New York and move to Connecticut. His daughter, who had been attending a prestigious private elementary school, was transferred to a public school in Connecticut, as they could no longer afford the tuition. Sam is now crawling around as a salesperson in a Connecticut real estate company unrelated to his previous work. Naturally, for someone who only learned to get ahead by scheming, this was to be expected. Now, not only Sam but his entire family is experiencing hardship and exposed to the harsh realities of the world. The Turner family, the business owners, has also fallen into decline. Rachel and her father's luxurious New York homes were sold, and now they live quietly in the suburbs of San Diego. It took time, but it was indeed a fitting end for such wicked people, just like the saying, "Heaven's net is wide and lets nothing through." What goes around comes around. As for my current situation, thanks to my successive achievements at the multinational company I joined, I have become well known in the industry. After further leveling up and developing new systems and apps, I gained enough confidence from the royalties alone to go independent, and last year, I finally started my own company. Now I'm running my own business. It is challenging, but every day is fulfilling and enjoyable. Being able to work with excitement every day is a truly fortunate thing, when I think about it. Looking back, I regret my apathetic and half-hearted teenage years following my failure, but I also recognize that it is precisely those setbacks that have led to where I am now.